Alex.
How are you?
Not too bad. Can you hear me okay, yeah?
I'm glad it's connected there. I got a little bit worried that it wasn't working.
Oh no, we're all good. We're all good.
Oh,
I'm an expert on Zoom at this stage. I teach yoga off Zoom, so I'm I'm used to it.
yeah, I think over the last 2 years with COVID, I think everyone's sort of got used to either Teams or Zoom, haven't they? So,
I know.
uh,
Yeah. Initially it was quite comical like, but
especially trying to get everyone on at the same time, and then everyone was dropping in and out, or everyone was mute and they weren't really
I
talking.
know.
It's moving. Yeah.
And then some dog barks in the background and sends it all astray. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Ultra Magazine. Thank you so much for talking to us. And huge congrats on your first lady on the Cape Wrath. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for talking with me. Yeah, I'm still kind of setting in, to be honest. I think it was quite a week and a half, really. Like, so it's still just sinking in, the whole experience, I guess. Yeah.
I know you had a bit of a niggle on the event, but I also think you were leading into the event with a couple of niggles as well. But how's the recovery and all that going at the moment? Is it all right?
Yeah, well, the niggles I had going into the event, they were grand actually. So they didn't surface at all. So I was quite lucky. I had a meniscus tear in my knee from a car accident I had years ago, and it had just flared up in the 6 weeks previous. So it was just unfortunate timing, but it was taped up and it actually didn't bother me at all, which is great. But yeah, I rolled on my ankle on the third day about halfway, and that was the major kind of the fall. So I think everyone kind of got a bit of anterior tibialis. It was like the buzzword in the camp for the week. Tendinopathy, like in my left ankle, but my right ankle does have a little ligament tear now, so I'm just kind of resting up a wee bit. I have it in a wee brace here, trying to not let it roll too much. But no, in fairness, the injury probably slowed me down, so it meant my recovery is a lot, like, the tiredness is grand, the rest of the body is fine, the muscles are a lot looser than they would have been otherwise if I had been really putting the foot down. So yeah, it'll just take a little while for that ankle to heal itself up, but yeah, positive.
No, good. I mean, we'll go into the ankle a little bit because I think it might have changed the way the race went for you, sort of in the middle part of it. But how was your preparation for the event? Has this been something you've been training for a couple of years now, or have you tried it before? You know, what's your what was your training like?
Well, it was funny. So, like, for when the event would have ran in May 2020, my other half, Johnny, he'd actually signed up for it, and it was an event I had looked at, but I was actually supposed to be doing the Great Himal. So it's another kind of expedition race in the Himalaya, it was like 30 days long, and it was postponed, as was Cape Wrath, as was Nepal, again and again and again, and then eventually Nepal was postponed again until November 23. So then when I saw Johnny was still intending on doing Cape Wrath, and I was like, brilliant, I can actually, there were still slots. So my preparation was for Nepal. And then last year, we took on a new business, and I was on my feet a lot more than I would have wished. And I developed what you may call it, plantar fasciitis, quite bad. So that kind of stalled me in my tracks for anything. So my endurance runs weren't really there. I was doing a lot of biking. I do cycle a lot, and that really helped, but all my runs were quite short. And then the adventure racing that I do, they'd be short runs anyhow. So that helped with the prep, but not really to the extent of being on your feet for like 8 to 12 hours in a day over 8 days. So my prep wasn't as good as I would have liked, but it was it worked out. The endurance prep was, I had that. It was just the mechanics I was a bit worried about. Yeah.
Did that put doubt in your mind that you could actually finish this event, or was it more just of how much you were going to suffer during the event?
Well, yeah, like, funny, like I knew I had the fitness and the mental strength, like kind of from different things I've done over the years. I knew I could do it, but it was more the mechanics. I was more concerned about my knee, to be honest, and the plantar fasciitis coming back, which it didn't. But again, I developed that from standing as opposed to running. Running was a little bit easier on that. So yeah, it was more the mechanics. I was quite concerned that I wouldn't actually, like, physically be able to mechanically do it, as opposed to fitness and aerobically wise. Yeah.
I mean, I think for the first 3 days, I think you were flying. I mean, we've spoken to Simon Roberts quite a few times in
Oh
previous,
yeah.
and you weren't far behind him really on this first, especially on the first day.
Yeah, yeah.
You were absolutely flying on that bet. But before we get to that stage, I mean, as the start line of the Cape Wrath just seems absolutely phenomenal. I mean, with the bagpipes going off and so on. What's the atmosphere like on that day one?
Ah, like it's electric. I mean, it was wet. It was wet that day too. So we were all kind of shivering and huddling and trying to get our last drop of coffee and a biscuit before we we actually had to head off. But oh no, there's just like the nervous energy in the buzz is amazing. Like for an event like that, and knowing but not really knowing what
Yeah.
you're actually getting into. And I think like the first day, you nearly think like it's a single day, it's a race, and you can kind of get caught up with it. And I was like, God, this is grand. Yeah, I could do this for 8 days. This is great. Like, it's nearly a false sense of security.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it's a really great buzz. Like, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think the first 3 days, I think the weather was probably the most talked about point, especially on the social media forms of their little interviews that they did. But I think it just rained for the first 3 days, and I think the course is known to have those muddy trails anyway. But they looked particularly
Yeah.
muddy this time.
Yeah, yeah, it was funny, like, because everyone was like, "Oh, but you're Irish, you'd be well used to this." So I'm like, "No, no, maybe for like a few hundred meters, not for like, yeah, 50K. No, it was horrendous the underfoot conditions, for me, and like, I would have thought my ankles were strong enough, like I would do, strengthening and mobility and all the rest, but no, it was really tough going, like, I mean, it was the parts I love running trails and I love running open mountain. Like I love the kind of grassy, rocky trails, but the bog is it's a different fish altogether. It really pulls the ankles out of you. And it can, if you're tired at all, like just even lifting your legs is like an effort.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Every time you
definitely.
woke, yeah, sorry, go on.
No, no, that's it.
I'm guessing every time you woke up every morning, because I know the first 3 days it gets longer and longer, and every time you saw the rain pouring down, it must have been, here we go, I've got to go longer this time, and it's more.
I know. Yeah, it's funny. It's just it's mental. And I think like I guess doing it as part of a race, it really drives you on, like the other people around you and just seeing how strong and determined they are. And that really brings you on, like you wake up and like I'd look at Irene was another Irish girl that I was lucky enough to share the tent with. And like we just look at each other and go, what the hell are we at? Like, but you'd be laughing and then you just get on with it and you do it. And then you meet other people with these epic stories and experiences and drive and why they're doing it or what brought them there. And like, it just, yeah, I mean, that definitely doing it as part of a race is kind of, it adds another element to it, and it doesn't seem as horrendous. Like, it's because you're all in it together and you're all kind of, you're rooting for each other. You really, like, it was, I mean, at one stage it was a bit like a combination of what, like Survivor and Big Brother. Like you didn't want anyone to get kicked off. Like you wanted everyone to be in your tent that evening. And it was quite sad when you'd hear somebody else had dropped or gotten a niggle or got pulled out or missed a checkpoint. Like it was it was a real kind of strong experience with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that when you obviously been starting with a group of people in a tent.
Yeah.
Obviously gets less and less all the time. Did you always stay with the same people all the time? Obviously, the people dropping out, or do they eventually group you up into smaller groups and share new people, new stories? Or?
Well, there was 6 in our tent, and I think that was for the first 3 days, and then we lost a couple, and then maybe on the 4th day we regrouped, and there was 7 and 8 of us until the end. So we were kind of together then till the end. So, relatively speaking, we stuck as a unit. There was 3 from our original tent there till the end. Yeah.
How was camp life? I mean, if you're not used to tents and that proximity, and I'm guessing this event's a lot more about not just being a trail runner, which probably not the most important bit, but it's probably more about preparation, your own administration each time. But sleep is so important as well. So if you've got someone that's quite noisy, how does that all work?
Yeah, an interesting one. I guess like because going into the race, like both myself and Johnny, my partner, like we were doing the race, and you had a choice whether to go female only, male only, or mixed tent. And I actually went female because I thought I might get more sleep because Johnny's a bit of a snorer. But like hindsight, I think in a race like that, everybody's snoring eventually. And all the other noises kind of drown out the snoring, including the rain hammering down on top of you. You're kind of lying there wondering you need to go to the toilet, but you're like weighing up the options of getting absolutely drenched to the skin. Like, so yeah, and then like just even you know, drying out your kit, like everything was wet. There was a couple of days we finished where it wasn't raining and you had dry kit, but literally maybe 2 days. So you were always kind of starting in that slightly damp, wet, muddy gear. But yeah, we had actually camped in Fort William the 2 nights previous to the race. We weren't very well prepped with accommodation, a little bit outside Fort William, actually about an hour. And the second night of our pre-prep for the race, Johnny's tent actually collapsed in on top of him, so he ended up sleeping in the van. And we kind of said we were supposed to camp after the race, and we said no, feck that, we're booking a hotel. Like, no, we need a bed and a bath for the last night. We kind of mucked it out enough at that stage. So the camping experience, like I enjoyed as well, because I mean, if you were just going back to like a fancy hotel or a, you know, even a B&B or whatever, it would take that edge off it. You know, it was the full experience. And even like it was actually quite cool, you know. I mean, kit wise, nutrition wise, that kind of stuff, I probably could have been a little bit better prepped. And it was really cool to see what other people did, you know, and their little bags and their different layers and all the rest. So it was a much deeper learning experience sharing with people, you know. So you really got the kind of the inside picture of what was going on, like, and sharing, you know, stories of the day and kind of egging each other on as well. So yeah, like it was a cool experience from that point of view. Yeah.
I mean, the Cape Raft team seemed absolutely phenomenal anyway. So I mean, I love the whole kitchen setup because they looked like the food was pretty spot on for everybody as well.
Yeah, that was. They were amazing, like unreal. Like they kept everyone going. And it wasn't just what they supplied us, the personalities, like they were just full, like maybe it was because they weren't as wet as us, I don't know. But they always seemed in such, you know, they were good form. They were telling you stories of stuff they'd done or what they were going to do, or just camp chat. Like they were just deadly. They really were. They were like a phenomenal group of people. Like I ended up unfortunately spending quite a bit of my time in the medical tent. And I actually, like, there was a couple of times where I was kind of just hanging out there after they'd already fixed me up, just because the banter was great. Like, and you know, just a really lovely atmosphere. And they drove everyone on as well. Like it was definitely a massive part of the adventure. Yeah.
Let's talk about the first 3 days. And obviously, I think when I first watched the first day on the Cape Raft Facebook page, obviously we heard about you coming in first lady, but all of a sudden it seemed to, like, all the pressure seemed to just go straight to you. There's a lot of interest in what you can achieve. How did you handle that? Did you feel that pressure at that time, or?
No, not at all. I didn't know that at all, to be honest. I was buzzing because I was feeling really good, and like I wasn't, you know, flat out racing. I was just enjoying it, enjoying the run, bit of chat, like the heart rate was good, like everything. I was like, God, this could be okay, you know. Didn't really feel the pressure, but I didn't really go in there knowing anyone, to be honest. Like I knew a couple of the people that I would have known from here and that I traveled over with, and but I wasn't really aware of who was the competition or anything like that. It was just really God, this is cool, like, you know, and getting to run with different people as well. Like I enjoyed that. Like, so no, I didn't really feel any pressure, but I wasn't looking at anything either. I kind of purposely didn't open my phone for the first few days. I didn't even know ultra mail was a thing until the first few days. So, you know, I was kind of oblivious to any of that, like, which is maybe good.
With your background, are you quite familiar with being on podiums and stuff like that, or is this completely out of your norm?
Yeah, no, I would be more like on a national level, I guess. I mean, I have lived abroad, so I have won races abroad, but on a national level, like, yeah, like in adventure racing, I'd be on the podium regularly enough, and like I've won the national 50k champs there a couple of years running, like, so it wasn't totally alien to me, but I've never done an expedition style race like that. I've done a few multi-day adventure races, you know, where it's non-stop off the clock, but again, that's with a team, so again, it's a little bit different too. So yeah, it was just a new experience altogether. Yeah.
Do you prefer multi-days or just going out and get it all done?
I don't know. I haven't done like that many like long runs, if you know what I mean, like as in a non-stop running event. Like I haven't done it in like the Spine, like that kind of a. I've done it in the adventure racing, but again, you're running, you're biking, you're kayaking, you're doing all these, so you're never too long in one discipline. So I don't know. I love racing, to be honest. So I do like I love the buzz of a single day race too, and that you can just let it all go and leave nothing out there, you know, whereas you can't do that on a multi-day. And that I thought would be my hardest thing, but I guess the injury slowed me down anyhow, so I didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, like I came from a background in like 100-meter sprint was my distance growing up, so like 400 meters was long distance, you know, so now I don't know what I'm at, like. But I love running. I didn't like that I was kind of drawn to having to drag my feet for the last few days. Like I couldn't say I really enjoyed that experience. Like I was more shuffling, where I was seeing these amazing trails, and even though they were covered in water, I was like, oh my God, they look, you know, they're perfect. I'd love to just let go and run down that, but like yeah, that was just the luck of the draw.
I think obviously on day 3, when you did go over that ankle, I think it was mainly the downhills that was causing you the most problems. Am I right in saying that? Or
it was, because I could still power hike, and I could hike faster than a lot of people running, just from years of doing that. And I suppose the bike helped with that last year, you know, building up the kind of the quad and hamstrings and that, like. But yeah, like the uphill, I'd be praying for an uphill, and then I'd be really not looking forward to the downhill. And it was annoying because the downhills were nice in Cape Wrath, like it wasn't like they were crazy technical. You know, whereas I would be a bit nervous, and then sometimes, but some of the downhills were just these lovely flowing paths, and you just, oh yeah, it was painful.
how did you get on with the river crossings then with the injury? Because I know there's quite a few river crossings on this one.
I loved them because I couldn't feel my feet. They were brilliant. Yeah, it was like the therapy of the ice cold water was actually lovely. I didn't mind that, and then they'd stay cold for a little while. Yeah, obviously there was rocks to kind of maneuver around, but they weren't, it was fine. I enjoyed them to a point. But yeah, no, like the cooling water was actually good, and I think that's probably why they didn't swell up as much as they would have otherwise. I mean, the day after we finished, I was like, myself and Johnny would be joking, he was Shrek and I was Fiona, like we were just absolutely, like, couldn't walk, like we were just these big fat ankles. They weren't even ankles, I know what they were. So yeah, no, the rivers were good. They were, yeah, and the fact that there was plenty water as well was great.
I mean, obviously when you rolled your ankle, you still came in. I think did you come in second on that day? I think you did.
Yeah.
I think that was quite an emotional day for you, really, because I think you felt like the race was over for you, and then it was really good to see you each day still coming in. And I think you became a little bit more positive in the sense of, well, if I wake up in the morning, I'm out on the start line. Here we go. I'm here again.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very much like, it was kind of, I mean, it was definitely mental from that day on. Like I'd go to the medical tent and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. And then when I'd be crossing the line, the guys in the trackers would be like, Ashley, we'll see you in the morning. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And they'd be like, we were waiting for you. And then I'm off again. But like, yeah, it really was just, I think then once it got over halfway point, like the end of day 5, I was like, okay, I'll just suck it up, you can do it, even though we do 2 massive runs ahead of us, like, or shuffles. But yeah, and then I guess I don't know, the mental side of it takes over, and the idea of having to do it again, because I wouldn't have been able to let it rest. I was like, no, I have to do this. And then Johnny, my other half, he he was doing the race up until day 6, and he fell into the river and kind of got pulled down the river a bit, and all his kit got like really saturated, including his spares. And so he had, I think he had about 15k to go to the next checkpoint. So he kind of signed off with borderline hypothermia, and his ankle was already at him, so he would have been slowing down. And I think when that happened, that made me more determined then, okay, one of us is going to have to finish this. So the pressure is on. But yeah, like it was disappointing because I would have loved to actually ran it, you know, and seen what I could do with it, because as I say, I was feeling good. Yeah, but anyhow, another race, I think.
Does that mean you're not going to come back to it, or is that you done with the Cape Wrath now, or is there another?
I think there's other races that, like, I think, you know, I mean, it's such an epic event and there's so many epic races out there. I think to revisit it, and you're not guaranteed what you could get. You could get worse conditions again. No, I'm happy that I've completed it. And you know, I mean, obviously would have liked to have completed it uninjured, but I mean, something like the Dragon's Back, like that would be kind of cool to take a whack at, like, you know, similar multi-day stage. Sorry? Spine, yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, maybe. I'd have to brush up on my nav, I think, a wee bit maybe for that one. Like we'd be looking at like maybe the Transalpine or something next year, like as a multi-stage. That'd be quite nice. Like there's so many adventures out there that unless I've unfinished business, I feel like I'd like to try another different. I definitely go back and do support crew though, because I mean it's an awesome event, and just even the banter there. So if Johnny does decide to go back to finish it out, I could be there.
You mentioned a little bit about navigation. You'd have to work on that if you did the spine. Is the navigation on this event a little bit easier to follow, or does it need so much focus on it?
It wasn't so bad. I mean, I had it set up on my watch, so I was following my arrow most of the time. I don't think if I took out the map twice when I was a wee bit kind of thrown off, but so it was fine. I mean, there is a lot of off trail, so you do need to know where you're going, and you can't really rely on your watch either. I was lucky. With the spine, I hear you probably need a little bit more
tricky
skill in that.
Yeah, and there's always a bit of diversions always stuck in there, and obviously when they do the high points to low points, but just due to weather, because obviously that's what it's all about, isn't it? Really, that's
it.
Really, but
sounds
of things. Speaking to hearing from Howard, I think he said the route that you was on now makes a spine race look a little bit too easy, really.
Really? Wow.
It's just something technically how boggy the terrain is.
I think so.
Compared to the spine, because the spine has a few, like, you know, river crossings and stuff like that as well. But when I saw the videos and stuff like that, it definitely looked a lot more wet.
A lot of people in the race were comparing it to other like crazy races that I was like, oh, okay, well, if we can do this, we can do anything. It was like it was a nice little confidence boost then to hear that.
So last day, obviously get on that start line, you must have been ready to go. I think there was a lot of motivation that people just wanted to get this done and see the lighthouse at the end of the day. But how did the last day go for you?
The last day was good. I was very well taped up by the medics, and I had plenty painkillers in. I'd say I was okay up until the last few K when we kind of hit the road literally just before the lighthouse, and then I felt, oh my God, it was like hitting the wall in a marathon or something. I was just like, oh God, I'm so close, but yeah, so far away. No, the last day was good. The terrain was a lot kinder. Like even though the part which went kind of off trail before the lighthouse, it was a lot kind of grassier and not so much bog. So even the downhills weren't as bad. So although I wasn't sprinting it or anything, I kept up a more like runner-like pace than the previous 2 days. So it was just, I think, you know, you're just going on adrenaline at that stage and knowing you're so close. And like comparing to the distances we'd been covering the previous days, like 25K, it felt like a park run, you know, like it was over. You were like, oh my God, that's it. That's all we're doing. You know, it's strange how your perception changes over the course of 8 days. Like, so no, the last day was good. I mean, it rained. that lovely beach section that everyone talks about, I was just battered, like there was some kind of hail, or maybe it was sand, I don't know, battering me from the side, and you're sinking into the sand. But no, it was cool. And like, you know, I met a few of the guys that I've been kind of running with on and off that last day, and it was nice, just, you know, the pressure was off, it was just kind of easy banter, and we kind of knew we were there. And yeah, it was nice. It was a lot more enjoyable than say day 6 and 7, for sure. Yeah.
And that bonus obviously coming in, you know, first lady as well, you know, like you said, it must have been over the moon with that, really, especially all the
Yeah,
like that. It must have been.
it was lovely. Yeah, it was nice, definitely, for sure. Because I mean, like I had kind of built up the lead, obviously, with the first few days, and then gradually I was going like this, and everybody else was going like this. But then I think toward the end, everybody was kind of picking up little niggles, so that gap started to narrow again. So I did have quite a comfortable cushion going into the last day. So unless something went terribly wrong and I literally couldn't walk at all, I was going to be okay for that. But I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just, I think anyone who gets to that point, it really doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in the podium or where you are, it's just actually finish. Like everybody's on the podium, you know, you just happen to be a little bit in front, like, but yeah, it's just, yeah.
I think everyone talks about the route as how much, well, the scenery is absolutely amazing. Did you have a particular day that, obviously without the injury, I can't put that into it, but was there a particular day that you just thought, wow, this day was brilliant, epic?
I think even though I injured on the third day, I really enjoyed the third day, the terrain and the variety. There was a lot of stuff going on. I found like the weather probably covered up a lot of what we could see. You kept kind of seeing these openings and going, oh wow. And it's funny, like even Irene, my Irish friend, like she was saying, like it's just like Ireland, but it was like Ireland because you could only see that little part. But Scotland's so much vaster, you know. So if the clouds part, you'd see it multiplied by. So what we were seeing was quite similar to what we'd see in the mountains over here, you know, because we were only seeing that small gap. I mean, there was some phenomenal waterfalls, like on, was that day 3, and it was just this gorge. We actually ended up accidentally detouring myself and one of the guys, and realized we were at some photographic point or something, and going, oh no, I have to go back. But it was worth it just to go that little bit lower to get that, and then have to come back up on track. But oh yeah, I mean, it's stunning. And I wouldn't actually mind going back and just doing kind of sections of the track and just really enjoying it at your leisure, where you're not kind of looking at where your foot's landing, you know, and you can really just enjoy. Yeah, definitely. But no, I mean, it's stunning, but I would have liked if we could see it a little bit more.
Yeah, I always say that about any events that I do. If it's a little bit later on, you don't really take it all in because you're just so conscious about what you're doing at the time. And I like to go back out and just, you know, enjoy some of those, especially those later days that I just wasn't really absorbing what was going on. But
totally. Like I did the UTMB course over 4 days a few summers ago, and that was kind of in prep for Nepal, and I was so glad I did it like that, because you know, we were still tipping away, we were running it, like, but over 4 days and at our leisure, and you could stop for your baguette and your coffee and, you know, really take it in. And now I'd be happy to race it knowing I'd seen it all, you know, that kind of way. But I think, yes, sometimes when you're racing, I know, like, you're racing, you know, if you're racing in my head. So you do see it, but it all kind of blurs into, like, even those 8 days all kind of blurred into one really long day that I couldn't, unless I sat down with the map and kind of, oh yeah, and that was that, and that was that. Right now, like, if you ask me what was day 4 like exactly, I couldn't tell you. There was a bog, there was definitely a bog.
So if anyone's looking to do the Cape Wrap, what would you say to them to get themselves ready for something like this?
I would say, like, things that I wish I had done more of was probably long days hiking. In more boggy terrain as well. Definitely more, like, I do a lot of, as I was saying, ankle mobility and strength work, but through my yoga, I'd probably do a lot more low bearing stuff again in future, a lot more kind of weight bearing, just ankle work, lower leg, single, like not going to get too specific, but just definitely. Gear wise, I think even the really prepared people didn't have enough gear. Just because of the conditions. So I would scrimp on, I would just like your evening clothes, just have really nice heavy rain gear, trousers, couple of layers, whatever it is, and wear the same thing for the whole week. And then have multiple of everything else, not just your socks, you know, so that you're not constantly putting on like 3 or 4 pairs of the same damp, wet t-shirt that never dries out. Yeah, don't underestimate the weather. And again, you could get like a really lovely year, you know, all that's kind of irrelevant then, but stuff for like the evening, your footwear for around the camp, like I saw people in these little kind of short wellies, fur lined, really big, perfect. You know, but like you just wouldn't know that unless you kind of done something similar.
Experience, isn't it, from other events that you can take on?
Yeah. Oh, totally. So the gear definitely, but preparation for it, I would say like a lot more multi-day, long days hiking, using poles as well. I wasn't planning on using my poles. I had them in my bag, and then when the ankle went, I used them from day 4. But getting used to using poles for running, you know, not just kind of deciding to use them a couple of days before the event or whatnot. Training with them definitely for that course could play to your advantage as well. But like the list is endless. We've myself and Johnny are just constantly, we've got something else to add to the list since we came home. If we were to do it again, when we do it again.
It's good that you put it into your own way of saying, you know, what you would have done differently if you were doing it. And like you said, I think by the sounds of things, it's more about experience, and you can't really prep for that unless you've done it a couple of times and you go, I tell you what, that's creature comfort I didn't think of.
I know, totally. And I think people say, oh, would you run more in the bog? And I'm like, no, it's so not enjoyable. Why would you do that to yourself? I'm afraid of bogs.
But it makes it very technical, doesn't it? Very, very technical terrain, really, then.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, like there's ways of not training in the bog, but still working on those muscles that when you do encounter that. But I wouldn't say just spend hours walking through bogs. You know, do other nice things.
So, what's next for you?
Well, I had a couple of adventure races, just single day races lined up for the next couple of weekends, but at the moment I just need to get this ankle sorted. But at the end of June, or this month, I'm going to France with 3 guys. We're doing the French raid, so it's like a multi-day adventure race, so it's like 5 to 6 days. Kayaking, mountain biking, a little bit of rock climbing, running, whatever else to decide to throw at us. So that's what I need to get this ankle ready for, because it's okay, like if I have to scrimp on a couple of the solo events, but I just don't want to let the team down, so the pressure's on to get this ankle rehabbed. But that's the next thing, and then just a few other things up my sleeve, but nothing too major for the rest of this year. It'll be more kind of single day adventure races and runs, but nothing too crazy until next year.
That's good. It's good this season. It's different as well. I love it. Absolutely love it. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thanks a million, Alex.
No, it's good to meet you. And, congratulations again. I think a massive achievement, especially after rolling your ankle. I think anyone who was watching us on the outside that saw that happen was gritting at it. Oh no, held on. So congratulations.
Well, I've had friends calling me Forrest Gump since, so I don't know, is that a compliment or an insult? I don't know.
You never know.